Alright everybody, back working on the Mustang today. Today I'm actually going to do a little tool demonstration, tool review for you. This is a central pneumatic, which you get at Harbor Freight, air punch flange tool. The purpose of this guy is to punch holes in sheet metal, and also on this end it does it makes a little flange by putting like a little depression along the lip on a piece of sheet metal so that you can lap one piece over the top of another one and have them come out flush top to top when it's done. I'm not using it for that right now. I'm just going to use it to punch some holes. I got my quarter panels here. I showed you I pre-assembled those on the floor upside down. So now I'm just going to go around and punch holes where I'm going to spot weld the quarter panels to the car, and instead of trying to drill, we're going to punch a billion holes in here. So instead of trying to drill it out every time, I went to Harbor Freight and I got this guy for 40 bucks. It works off of compressed air. I just have a little pancake compressor. I'll show you that in a second. And I got it set to 90 psi. Put a couple of drops of oil in the tool, and away it goes. I mean, it's not very loud. This is it in action with no sheet metal. That's it. That's all it does. But it'll poke a 3/16 inch hole in a piece of 20 gauge sheet metal, no problem. So all you do is you put the sheet metal in the jaws of the tool. Actually, let's slide it down a little bit. I'm just trying to do this upside down and backwards and everything. It's a little hard for me to see what I'm doing. Get it in there and then just squeeze the handle, and that's it. That's that easy. Made a hole in there. I don't know if you can see it. I'll come around and reset the camera. But it makes a 3/16 inch diameter hole. It's kind of small, I'm thinking, for a spot weld. So what I do is I make the hole and I slide down a little bit and then make another one right next to it and try and get the two holes to sort of overlap into an oval size opening. So sometimes I'm more successful with the alignment than I am at other times. And I guess it's a little easier for me to do it this way. It's just that it's not on the camera as much if I go this way, and actually I'm interfering with something else down here, so we'll flip it back around. You can rotate this head on here if you really need to. It's a little tight, but you can do it. So it works well. I'm pleased with it. And then it spits out the little chip. Sometimes they get stuck in there, but after a while you get enough of them stuck in there, it starts spitting them out. So here we go. Let's do another one. So that's it. It's pretty simple. Let me reset the camera and give you kind of a bit different angle on it. Alright, here's my compressor. I just have a little pancake Porter cable compressor that I got for some nail guns when I was doing a project to refinish my basement. So I don't have a huge compressor right now, and this is enough to run that flange and hole punch tool. So don't worry that you need to have some kind of gigantic compressor. You don't. This little thing powers it, and it hasn't come on yet. I've punched, I don't know, 6 or 8 holes, and it's not even turned itself on yet. The tool doesn't really use a lot of air. Alright, so here, let's pop a few holes into this bottom flange of the quarter panel. I'll show you how quick it can work. Okay. Of course, if I wasn't trying to video this, it'd go a little, always goes easier when you're not on the camera. All the little chips just fell out. I don't know if you heard that or not. That one fell out. I'm doing, like I said, I'm trying to do 2 holes side by side so that when I do the spot weld, I get a nice size weld. I'm very very good at hitting the same spot over and over. There you go. So you can see this is going to save a lot of time instead of trying to drill all of these things. You spend half your life, getting set up with a drill and drilling it. So, it works really well. Let me get a little piece of sheet metal and I'll demonstrate the flanging part, because I realize that some people might be interested in how that works. So let's get that set up and I'll show you a little demonstration of that also. Alright, so I moved outside for this next demonstration phase. Weather's finally getting nice out here. So here you go, we got a little piece of sheet metal clamped up. And the point of making a flange is if I want to take another piece of sheet metal and lap it behind the first one and drill some holes in this and then weld those two pieces together. Right now I'm going to have a ledge when I do that because I put one and I slapped it behind the other one. So if you could come in here and put a little offset, if you could bend the top edge of this piece over, still making it parallel, but just moving it back a little bit, then you could put your second piece in that little relief. Then the surface of the two pieces would be in the same plane, and that's the point of this flanging operation. So let me get the flange tool and we'll put a flange across this piece, and then I'll put this other one back on it and show you how they fit together. Alright, so for the flanging operation we use the other end of the tool, and you can see it just comes down and there's a little ledge in there. It doesn't make much of a ledge. This is like 20 gauge or maybe even 22, something like that. It's pretty thin. Alright, so I had to wait for the compressor to shut off in the background, making a lot of racket, and that was enough, a minute or whatever, to kill the battery on the other camera. So I had to switch to my camera that I don't usually use out here for YouTube because I don't want to take a chance on getting it all messed up. So I got the other camera in here now, my nice camera. And what I want to do now is I made the flange one pass. I'm going to go back and make another pass on it, because I don't, there's a ledge there, but it's not really a huge ledge. I think you might want to go in here and do a little bit of tweaking on this head, but let's try it again. We'll go back across and just reinforce the size of that thing. I did a lot of overlap on that one so that the tool wasn't trying to bite a lot of the piece. So here's here's the head of it. And the way this guy works too is you just squeeze this little handle. I don't know if we're set up right on the camera. Let me get the camera over here now and just show you what this flange looks like on the part. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a ledge on there. If I hold it this way, I don't know if it shows up. You can see I can feel this bump on there. Move it around. Of course, the wind's starting again. It's windy here. Here's the other side. The ledge is on this side. So this is higher than this. Now the goal would be to take another piece of sheet metal, same thickness. Over here, fell on the ground. And what you would want to do is put so we got the ledge on the back. So now what I would do is you'd take another piece of sheet metal and lay it on top of this one. And when you do that, these two surfaces are supposed to be more aligned. Of course, back here, there's a big hump. But up here, I can still feel it. The ledge it's not really deep enough, in my opinion, if you're going to use this for that purpose. It's certainly not, it's certainly better. It's a lot better than it would be if you didn't put the ledge on it at all. Don't get me wrong, but it's still not 100%. They're not totally flush there. So what I would do if I intended to use it for that purpose, inside the tool here, you can see that the offset on these jaws is not very deep. I would go in there with a grinder or something, or a cut-off wheel or something, and I would increase the depth in that groove so that one side, the high side, is a little bit higher than the low side. That way when this, and you might have to cut a groove in this top one too, down at the bottom, so that when the top part comes down, right, it bites off more, pushes more of the sheet metal down. But it does work. It does make a nice little flange on there. It does it really quick. And if you really are trying to do some serious work with that, it's going to do it a lot faster for you, especially if you tweak these jaws a little bit. So that's the Central Pneumatic Air Punch Flange tool from Harbor Freight. It's about 40 bucks. Here's the handle on it. You just squeeze that. There's a little piston right there. And the other comment that I'll give you is when you buy it, it comes with this female fitting. It doesn't have the air tool connector, this male connector piece. So get one of those when you're in Harbor Freight. Can't be more than $1 or so. And get one that fits obviously on the size hose that you're using. I'm using a 1/4-inch hose. And it works pretty good, especially for the hole making part. Once again. It's going to save a lot of time. So come on back, keep watching. We'll be working on the Mustang.